2 match losses, 23 match wins against the best of the chess world. And here we go. Nihal will have to produce his best to mount a comeback at this stage. He is playing, this knight f3, knight c3, QGD, and now getting into Catalan territory if Hikaru takes on c4, which he does not.
I call this the Kramnik Catalan. Usually in the Catalan, the knight stays on b1 because it often is deployed to d2. This is a viable continuation popularized by Kramnik a decade or so back, and the structure changing with an early trade on d5. Hikaru recapturing with the knight, Robert, which could strike a lot of players as less natural than taking with a pawn. But ultimately, we get the same structure. And ooh, what about e4 here? Is Hikaru getting sloppy?
Yeah, because e4, knight g5, take on e4, things like that. He plays bishop g5, which I don't think is a bad move, but it wasn't as tactically alert as he could have been.
And again, I will contend that against, a lesser grandmaster, Nihal would, against me, he'd play e4 in like 3 seconds.
Although inducing f6 doesn't look so bad either, but you're right. No. He is missing this tactics, and you need to be as sharp as a knife to beat Hikaru Nakamura, right? Because he is a defensive maestro, and if you're not putting him away, he'll find a way back. And right now, knight e1, I like the maneuvering of these pieces. For the second time today, he's got a knight on d3, and I definitely approve.
And the knight on d3 spinning its way toward f4, although you don't necessarily want to play knight f4 too quickly. That pawn on d5 can be easily defended in a variety of ways. Instead, Nihal opting for pressure on the queen side, a typical move b4. He might follow it up with a4 and potentially b5. But you don't want to overextend yourself. You also want to keep your eye open for tactics like knight c5.
I was wondering that. Can white play knight c5 right now?
No, and let's pull up an analysis board. This is very instructive.
I know
if you
exactly.
play knight c5, you know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Bishop back to e7. And apparently this is still equal. But after queen b7, I thought the queen is lost.
There might be a timely bishop h3.
You're absolutely right. At the end of this line, there is amazingly the move bishop h3. And so black actually has to repeat moves with rook a b8 in order to have the response f5. Crazy lines here. They don't go for it. Let's get back to the live board. Okay,
we see a swap of bishops on d6. So not too much has changed except for the exchange bishop f4, bishop takes d6. And now we're in a position where knight c5, all right, that's not going to happen anymore. Let's not focus on the tactics, but let's look at the underlying structure. The c6 pawn, potential target. a7, you don't want to take your eye away from that for too long because a queen a3 can really keep black's pieces stuck in place, or a queen a4 can hit c6 and keep the pieces stuck in place. So it would be a double whammy. So I think right now, needs to find that accurate move.
Did you like that LED show with the a7 pawn?
Oh!
Whoa! Look at that show with an exchange
sacrifice.
B5!
He's winning.
Oh, it just wins. It wins on the spot. He can't miss this, and he doesn't. And Hikaru with a big blunder there.
And Hikaru completely overlooked it. You saw his reaction there. He's like, what am I thinking to allow this? And now there's going to be a pawn on c6. He hasn't taken it yet. There he goes. He can play... Can't get e4 and d5 because the d4 pawn is loose.
But the game is so far from over. Nihal's pawn phalanx in the center is decisive. It should yield victory. But Hikaru, for the time being, is going to stabilize and keep his pieces in the center and try to keep white's minor pieces at bay. Most important for Hikaru is to keep this knight firmly entrenched on c7. Do not let this pawn move forward. Knight a6 runs into b5.
Exactly. That's what I say. Be very, very careful here. A knight 6 would be a blunder. He goes back to d3. Good recognition by Nihal. If Hikaru doesn't lose this game, I'm just going to be in disbelief. I mean, this looks so incredibly lost. I see 3.6 on the eval bar. If I was just looking at this, I'm like, okay, white has to win this game. Of course. Look at the b6 pawn. Look at the passer on c6. Look at the weak light squares all across the board. How in the world can anyone survive this game? Let's see if Hikaru can show us.
Well, so far, so good for Nihal. He is making massive progress. He has tied black down to the b6 pawn. Knight b4 was an incredibly astute positional move because it provoked this weakness. And here come the other pawns. Robert, I don't like the phrase the position plays itself because, well, no, Nihal is handling the white pieces here as far as I know. But this should be pretty straightforward if he avoids any tactical blunders.
Yeah, and queen d4, just a pile up pressure on b6. That doesn't look so fun. As you said, e4, f4, e5. You can play like that. You can play quiet moves like h3, right? Just like a little move here and there to improve your position if you feel it helps. But e4 is just self-explanatory.
Yeah. Start with e4. It doesn't, it's not a committal move in any way. f4 is somewhat more committal, but your king is still perfectly safe. Hikaru desperately trying to prevent f4. He's preparing en passant. But
So
I
what
think
about
h3
H3?
disrupts the pawn.
Yeah, goes knight f4.
Also good. Also good.
Queen e2 next to win the pawn on g4 directly. Oof.
I would play h3 at some point, though, just to free up your pawns.
Knight takes d5? No, there's queen d2 or something like that.
Close one.
Okay, how many extra pawns does white have?
b5. And this is excellent defense by Hikaru. His only chance is to create a passer on the queen side. Robert, I'm getting a very bad feeling about this already. I know it's +5, but I've been in the situation so many times against Hikaru.
Yeah, right. It's just giving him a chance. This A pawn is sprinting to the other side. A4, A3, A2 happens before you know it. And look at the dark square control by Hikaru's queen. C7 not available. The knight and queen covered. D6 is covered by both those pieces as well. So I feel like Nihal should still be winning, but he's down to 18 seconds, and he's got to find a move.
And queen h4 was the correct move.
Oh, no!
He allows the queen trade at a4.
Oh, my gosh.
And knight d4 apparently is the best move here. Just going for the mass trade of pieces, and knight e2 check is a fork. Oh my god, that's a devastating intermezzo.
Wait, but he finds knight c3 instead, but what's the difference? Is rook e1.
Rook e1, rook b1.
He missed knight e2!
He blundered his queen! He blundered his queen!
No way!
Hikaru's going to win this. Or maybe not. It's still
he
a lot
could
of
lose
pawns
this
for
still.
white. Robert, that tells you how winning white's position was. He blundered a queen, and it's still not that clear.
Yeah, you want e5 and d6. That's what you... So it goes c7. He wants d6 next.
A4, oh my gosh, D6, and white's in time.
King f7, there's still d6.
Holy
you take the knight, bishop
C8 queen.
And bishop h3, exactly.
Oh. Wait a second. Folks, this is not over yet. Absolutely 3-result game. Forget the darned eval bar.
Oh,
he missed
d6! Wait, and I wonder if Hikaru missed that? King e8? Maybe?
He's got perpetual check, and Hikaru has to take the mature call and make it.
Oh, wait. Is he going to take the... 96 of the queen?
Oh my god. And then there's like e5 and bishop d5. Are you kidding me?
Wait, bishop d5 or bishop b7, but bishop b7 is queen g6. Bishop b7 is a blunder.
Make a move.
It's a blunder! Queen g6 to b1! Oh my gosh, he blundered! Oh. That is a backbreaker.